Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving into the really bold thesis of financial strategist Lynette Zang. She's convinced our entire financial system is barreling towards a massive reset. And she argues that the key to getting through it isn't in stocks or crypto, but in the one thing that's been treated as money for over 5,000 years: physical gold.
Okay, so this one quote, it's pretty much the starting point for everything Lynette Zang believes. She's not saying the 2008 financial crisis was just a bad recession. No, she's arguing it was a fatal blow. In her view, everything we've seen since, all the money printing, the years of crazy low interest rates, that wasn't a recovery. That was just life support for a system that's, already gone. So why does she call it a con game? Well, in her analysis, it's because the whole thing is built on a mathematical trap. A system that needs more and more debt just to survive. Debt that can never actually be paid back, only rolled over into, well, even more debt. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack that big problem, look at the warning signs she says are flashing bright red, and then dive into her solution for protecting yourself before this big reset she sees coming.
All right, so to really get what Zang is saying, we've got to start with what she sees as the fundamental #1 flaw in the very money that's in your wallet right now. And this right here is the heart of the problem: fiat money. Ever since 1971, when the world left the gold standard, our money hasn't been backed by anything physical. Zang explains that today, new money is literally created from debt. When a government wants to spend money it doesn't have, it just issues bonds, which are IOUs. The central bank then basically prints new money to buy those IOUs. And here's the dangerous part. Every single new dollar that's created waters down the value of every dollar you've worked hard to save. And this is what that looks like in the real world. Zang points to this absolutely staggering number, the US national debt, as proof that the whole game is almost over. This isn't just some number on a screen, it's a promise to pay. And to keep up with the payments on this mountain of debt, there's really only one choice: create more and more currency. And that acts like a hidden tax on all your savings, constantly eating away at what your money can actually buy. She believes this isn't about politics, it's just about math, and we're running out of road.
Okay, so if the system's flawed in theory, what does that actually look like in practice? Zang argues we don't even have to guess. The warning signs, she says, are everywhere, and they're getting pretty hard to ignore. One of the first big red flags Zang points to is who's buying US debt. See, for decades, the system worked because big countries like China and Japan would take the dollars they earned from trade and buy US government bonds with them. But look at this chart. Since around 2013, the two biggest foreign buyers have been slowly but surely backing away. When the world starts losing its appetite for your debt, that's a huge vote of no confidence in your currency. And here's the thing, according to Zang, this isn't just some abstract financial issue. She connects these dots directly to things we see in the headlines, like trade wars and tariffs. In her view, these aren't just political disagreements. They're the kind of economic fights that break out when the trust holding the dollar system together starts to wear thin. And they have real effects on how goods move around the world.
And this is where it gets really personal. This quote, it's from Zhang's own daughter, who owns a business that makes things in China. The tariffs got so bad that she had to completely rethink her entire shipping process, breaking things down into tiny parcels just to avoid these massive fees. It's a perfect ground-level example of how these big global economic shifts end up costing real people and real businesses real money. But for Zang, this is the most critical warning sign of all. US Treasury bonds. They're supposed to be the safest financial thing on the entire planet. The risk-free foundation that the whole global system is built on. But she shows data that proves this just isn't true anymore. They're now jumping around with the kind of volatility you'd see in a risky tech stock. To her, that's a signal that the very foundation is cracking.
And she has this incredible metaphor for it. She shows charts from the early 2000s where the price of treasuries was basically a flat line, a true bedrock foundation. But today, she says their price charts look like a heart monitor on a patient in cardiac arrest. It's just chaos. For Zang, that shift from total stability to total chaos in the world's most important asset,
Well, it's the final flashing alarm bell that the system is breaking down.
Okay, so if the system is in cardiac arrest, what's the cure? Well, for Zang, the solution is a return to something she and a lot of others call sound money.
So what is sound money? It's pretty simple, actually. It's money that has real inherent value. And this is the most important part, it can't just be printed out of thin air by a government that's in a jam. For Zang, today, that means one thing above all else: physical gold and silver that you can actually hold in your hand. She argues it's the only way to really step outside the fiat system and shield your wealth from all the risks baked into it.
I mean, just look at the difference she lays out here. Gold and silver have been used as money for 5,000 years. But their most critical feature is this thing called no counterparty risk. That's so important. It just means if you physically hold it, its value doesn't depend on anyone else's promise. Not a bank, not a government, nobody. Fiat currency is the complete opposite. Its value is 100% based on a promise from a counterparty. And by its very design, that value is meant to fade away over time through inflation.
Okay, but wait a minute. What about Bitcoin? Isn't that supposed to be digital gold? Zang makes a really clear distinction here. She sees gold as something tangible, something with a proven history of storing value. But Bitcoin, she says, is intangible. And even more critically, she sees it as a Trojan horse, a technology that's getting all of us comfortable with the idea of digital-only money. And she believes that's the stepping stone to what governments really want, a programmable currency that they can track, trace, and control. Her best piece of advice is really simple. Don't listen to what the central bankers are telling you. Watch what they're actually doing. And what they're doing is buying physical gold like there's no tomorrow. Why? Zang points to the Bank for International Settlements. That's like the central bank for all the other central banks. And even they admit that gold is the only financial asset with zero counterparty risk. The big banks are stocking up on it as a war chest to hold on to their power and options in the shaky future they see coming. In all of this, it all leads to her main strategy for everyday people like you and me. It's not just about buying an asset. It's about changing your entire mindset. It's about taking back control and, as she puts it, becoming your own central bank. And she has this mantra for being prepared. And it's really interesting how she lays it out. See, owning gold doesn't mean much if you can't cover your basic needs first. The foundation is having your own food, water, energy, and security sorted out. Only after that does barterability, using gold and silver to protect your wealth, really come into play. And it's all held together by the last piece: a strong community. And look, she's adamant that this isn't some far-off theory. This is actually happening right now. She uses Turkey as a case study. When the Turkish lira started to tank back in 2020, people who saw what was happening sold things like cars and even their homes to buy gold. Then, hyperinflation hit. Gold's value just exploded, protecting their savings while everyone else got wiped out. And now, in 2024, those same people are using that protected gold wealth to scoop up undervalued property. For Zang, that's the full circle moment. From just surviving to actually thriving. And man, this quote from a regular person in Turkey, it just says everything, doesn't it? When all your trust in the banks, the government, and the currency itself just disappears, what do people instinctively turn to? Something tangible, something real, something they can touch and feel. In the end, it all just comes down to trust. So in the end, Lynette Zang's whole argument, it's not really just about gold. It's about getting us to stop and ask a really big question. In a world where our money is just debt and more of our assets are just digital promises, what does wealth actually mean? Her work challenges all of us to figure out for ourselves what has real, lasting value before, as she predicts, the system makes that choice for us.
If you found this information valuable, please hit that like button, share this video with fellow investors who might benefit, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analyses and market insights. We eagerly await your comments below. Let us know your thoughts and what topics you'd love for us to explore next.